Northgard is a slower-paced Viking-themed RTS that is as much about battling your enemies as it's about surviving the forces of nature itself. In my opinion, it's one of the most unique RTS games released in recent years. Set in a fictional world on the island of Northgard, you take control of a clan of Vikings who have come to settle this untouched, hostile land. A land that clearly does not want them here. Now, you might ask yourself, what kind of insane people would choose to settle such a harsh and unforgiving place? Surely nothing like this ever happened in real life. Well, let me introduce you to my country of Iceland. Now that that's over with, let's get to it. Northgard plays a lot like a mix between Warcraft, Battle Realms if you remember that game, and Civilization. It's a lot slower paced than games like Age of Empires and StarCraft. Matches in Northgard are long and can sometimes last an hour or more, so if you're playing online, you better settle in for the long haul. I really like the look of the game. It has an exaggerated, cartoony art style that is visually appealing and also incredibly easy to read during gameplay. I much prefer this over hyper-realistic visuals because it gives the game a timeless quality that will allow it to age gracefully over the years. You start each game confined to one area of the map. To expand, you first need to build a scout camp. Once it's completed, you can assign a villager to become a scout, and they'll venture out and explore the surrounding area. Resources are crucial. You need food, wood, and crowns. Without food, your villagers will starve. Without wood, they'll freeze during winter. And without crowns, you won't be able to pay for building upkeep, causing structures to deteriorate over time. Villagers gather food automatically by foraging, but wood and crowns require specialized buildings. Each zone has a limited number of building slots, so you're forced to expand to survive. Additionally, your starting zone offers no special resources, so your first major decision in every match is choosing which nearby zone to colonize. Colonizing costs food, and the prices increase with every zone you control. To keep up, you need to construct food production buildings and assign villagers to work in them. This core mechanic reminds me a lot of Battle Realms. Your main unit is the villager, and you can assign them to whatever role you need at a given moment. This is also where most of the game's micromanagement comes into play. Need more wood? Reassign some miners as lumberjacks. Under attack? Send your farmers to the barracks and train them as warriors. A lot of the early game will be focused on exploring, settling, and setting up your economy while surviving against the harsh winter of Northgard. You always have to think about winter. During it, your production slows, the combat effectiveness of your warriors is greatly diminished, and it gets especially bad during a blizzard, where your resources are rapidly drained and the map becomes way harder to see. Being unprepared for winter can result in an extremely quick game over. To keep expanding, you need more specialized buildings and workers, but there's limited space on the island, so you also need to upgrade those buildings using ore found in certain zones. This gives you the motivation to keep scouting, keep exploring, and keep colonizing new areas, because if you don't, you fall behind and you lose. Before moving on to the next subject, I want to mention a couple of things that annoy me about the game, mainly related to its lack of detailed statistics. For one, I wish buildings displayed more information about their production rates directly in-game. Right now, if I want to figure out exactly how much a building is producing, I often have to look it up online. Another issue is the happiness mechanic. It's a critical resource for keeping your villagers content and your population growing. It feels vague and difficult to understand at times. Some clearer indicators or explanation would go a long way in making it feel way more intuitive. Like I said earlier, a big part of the early game revolves around expanding and exploiting nearby zones. These zones are often guarded by hostile NPCs, so much of your initial combat will be against wolves, bears, and other occupants of the island. Combat is relatively straightforward due to the game's low unit count. Units will automatically attack any hostile in their zone, though you can still control them manually if you prefer a more hands-on approach. When you defeat a hostile or one of your warriors falls in glorious combat, you gain combat experience. This experience is used to unlock abilities and buffs in your combat skill tree, allowing you to customize your playstyle further. In addition to combat skills, there's also the lore tree, which functions similarly to the science and research trees in Civilization. It includes unlocks that make your game a little bit easier, like woodcutters producing more wood or warriors no longer suffering penalties during winter. This adds another layer of depth to your strategy, giving you a variety of paths to pursue depending on your goals. And speaking of goals, Northgard offers multiple ways to win a game. You got Domination Victory, where you have to defeat every other clan on the map through combat. Wisdom Victory, where you unlock most of the lore tree and build a monument. Fame Victory, host numerous feasts, defeat legendary monsters and conquer a large number of zones. Trade Victory, establish a strong crown economy and trade with the mainland. In addition to these, some maps feature special zones that introduce unique victory conditions, like colonizing the world tree or forging a legendary sword. With so many ways to win, your path to victory will largely depend on the clan you choose. Each clan in Northgard offers unique strengths, weaknesses, and playstyles that usually align with specific victory conditions. Take a few of the base clans, for example. The Stag clan focuses on fame, with buildings and upgrades that allow them to gather it at a faster rate than other clans. The Raven clan thrives on crowns and trade, making them perfect for a trade-based victory. The Wolf clan is built for domination, excelling in combat and aggression. Then there are the more unconventional clans like the Bear clan, which is incredibly effective in winter combat, or the Rat clan, which can literally work its villagers to death for powerful production boosts. The base game includes 6 clans, and there are numerous additional clans available as DLC. You definitely do not need to own all of the DLC clans to enjoy the game, and I'd personally pick and choose which one you want to buy depending on your preferred playstyle. They go on sale pretty often, so you can pick them up for a few bucks if you want. Before moving on to the different game modes, I want to briefly touch on the music and sound effects in the game. I'm a big fan of the soundtrack. It feels like a perfect fit for an RTS. It's not overbearing, stays in the background, and doesn't get repetitive, even after long sessions. The alerts are well designed, ensuring you're always aware of what's happening in your game without feeling intrusive. As for the voice acting, it's minimal but effective. The unit barks sound like a made-up language, while the story cutscenes are narrated in English with a Nordic accent.
I had no strength left when I encountered a group of runaways of the Stag clan, led by a proud young man named Brann. Hagen's men had set. We learned that a small faction had split from the Boar clan, and that Vedrung was trying to crush this uprising.
I don't have too much to say about the story mode. The first few missions serve as a tutorial for the game, and the story itself is a fairly standard revenge tale. Most of my playtime has been spent in the normal mode, which, in my opinion, is where the game truly shines. You can play it solo, co-op, or against other players. The developers also recently added matchmaking, making it much easier to find a PvP match. There's also Conquest, a roguelite game mode that adds a fresh challenge with its randomized elements, and Bifrost, which I'll admit I've not played much of, but it focuses heavily on co-op. Northgard feels like a game straight out of the golden age of RTS games. It's easy to pick up, challenging to master, and, in my opinion, deserves to stand alongside the greats of the genre, like Age of Empires and Warcraft. I highly recommend it, especially if you've been looking out for a slower, more methodical RTS game. And I hope it gets supported for many years to come. Thank you for watching. If you played Northgard, let me know what your favorite clan or game mode is. Also, if you have any other slower paced RTS games you enjoy, please let me know. I'm always on the lookout. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm still very new to all of this, so any feedback you have would be incredibly welcome. Thank you so much for watching.